myself. Go.
The captain's coming out right now, and so are the family members. Yes, a brother, his mother, the minister that he was part of the church with. Joining Captain Peters and myself. What we'll do is Captain Peters will open it up. I will say a few words. The lieutenant that is involved in the investigation will say a few words. And we appreciate you all coming. It's about getting the message out, getting numbers on the screen.
Yeah, I gotta go to the press conference. They're going to Palmdale.
In front of the cameras and ready to start the news conference. There are a lot of homicide detectives that are very eager to talk to more homicide exactly what
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. My name is Captain John Peters, and I'm the commanding officer for Pacific area. Before we get started, I just want to make a couple of introductions. I'm joined here today with Councilman Bill Rosendahl from the 11th District. Also,
Oops. All right.
to my right is Lieutenant John Radke from Operations West Bureau Homicide. To my left is Lieutenant Dave Crew, Commanding Officer of Pacific Division Detectives. I have several of the investigators that are involved in this case, friends and family. We're also joined by Eric Aldridge from the local Boys and Girls Club and Pastor Fisher from the Greater Zion Church in Compton. The reason that we're here today, and I thank you all for coming out, is to solicit the public's help and support in providing information and helping us to solve this tragic murder of Oscar Duncan that occurred this past Monday evening. Many of you were probably aware in covering an equally tragic event in South Los Angeles where a 14-month-old child was killed. But on that same night, we had an equally tragic and senseless act of violence here in this community on the west side that we're asking for help today. This young gentleman, Oscar, struck down in the prime of his life, 23 years old. This is a young gentleman that had so much potential. He was born and raised in this community. He graduated from Venice High School, was a captain of the football team, was a homecoming king, committed his young life to help people, to mentor your young kids, to help kids to stay away from the tragedies that we see in the streets every day. And so again, that's why we're here today and asking the support of the community to get behind us and get some information out. We know that template works here in this community. Almost a year ago to the date, we had another tragic incident at Penmar Park. We had a double homicide there, and a young individual that was shot on that same day. And due to the dogged and tireless work of our detectives and officers in that case, coupled with the partnership from the community, within 6 days we had that case solved and had secured felony filings from the district attorney's office on that brutal incident as well. So we know that it works, and that's what we're asking for today. So with that, I'd like to introduce Councilman Rosendahl to say a few words.
Thank you, Captain. And as you all know, this is an ongoing investigation at this moment. As the captain mentioned, in Penmar, there was a killing that was a little over a year ago. In fact, I met that young man a week before at the Venice Skills Center as he was graduating from it. And then tragically, a week later, he was killed. Senseless murder then. This is another senseless murder in Oakwood, right here in Venice. Yesterday, I adjourned the City Council in memory of Oscar, a true role model for young people in this day and age. And I told my colleagues I would be presenting on Tuesday a motion for their support for $50,000 to find or to get messages or to get insight into who did this tragedy. We hope the $50,000 that I'm sure my colleagues will support me on will help us in solving this crime. There are a lot of activity going on right now by the police department. I'm very pleased with the level of awareness that we now have on this particular murder, and it's just senseless, unacceptable, and we will get those bad guys and they will be caught not too long from now. But it needs the help of the public. That's why we're offering a $50,000 reward.
We're live with KTLA. Is there anything before we go that you can tell us in terms of a suspect description or a vehicle description, any new information that you can give our viewers?
Here's what we do know is on June 4th, 2012, Monday night, at about 10:30 p.m. in the 600 block of Santa Clara Avenue, the victim was just out on the street, standing with a companion. A white vehicle pulled up. The vehicle had more than one occupant. The occupants in the car were African American. They made comments to the victim. The victim walked over towards the vehicle to see who it was, and suddenly one person from the vehicle fired a shot, hitting Oscar in the head.
What do you believe motive is right now?
At this point, we're at the beginning of our investigation. We believe that this could be gang motivated. Again, Oscar was not a gang member, but we believe that these suspects may have been gang members.
And your name is, I'm sorry?
I'm Lieutenant John Radke, R-A-D-T-K.
Do you think he was targeted? Or do you think this gang was looking for him for some reason?
We have no reason to believe that anybody was targeting Oscar specifically. Oscar didn't have any enemies. He got along well with the community. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. These men pulled up. Oscar didn't have problems with anybody, so we believe he walked towards the vehicle just to see who was inside the car, and then they opened fire.
Some reports talk about the occupants of that car jeering a friend of his. Can you speak to that? That he was possibly drawn out.
We do know that they made comments. I'm not going to speak specifically about what was said, but those comments did draw Oscar to the vehicle.
Family speak?
Yeah, I'd like to invite Pastor Fisher to come up for some comments.
Thank you, Captain. I'm Pastor Fisher from Greater Zion Church Family in Compton, California, and in Compton. Every summer, we always have an increase in crime, and so unfortunately, that's something that's not new to us as well. But when it comes to Oscar Duncan, he was our youth pastor. He was the overseer of 1,500 young people, and he was a great role model. He was a mentor. He also worked diligently at the Venice Boys and Girls Club. He was one of my co-hosts on the radio show that we did. There was nothing negative about Oscar, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to speak to let it be fully understood that he was not gang affiliated at all. This is just senseless. It has to stop. We're tired of burying our young people. They should be able to live to see grandchildren and children, and so I'm pleading with the community, because we do know that someone in the community knows who did this, to please step forward. You can do it in a way where you don't have to give your name, but please step forward so that we can at least bring closure as far as finding out who did this. He loved his family. He was a family man. That's all what he always talked about was his family, and he never got any kind of trouble. And he was always there. So if anyone has any information, please step forward, help us to be able to bring some closure to this.
Pastor, do you know his work in the church? Did he come in contact with gangs? Did he ever do any kind of counseling kind of stuff?
All the time. Oscar had a way of relating to that community. He had a way of relating to those that came from the streets. He had a way of reaching them without condemning them. He was the epitome of Christianity.
Have you made some enemies that way though?
No enemies. No, he made no enemies. Anyone that came into contact with Oscar Duncan fell in love with Oscar Duncan. Anyone. I'm talking about the most cold-hearted people could come into contact with Oscar, and he could turn them into someone that was soft and lovable. So he had absolutely no enemies, none whatsoever. This was senseless. No one wanted to target him. He worked in the community, and he had the ability to transform lives. That's what Oscar stood for. Anything else said about Oscar, on the negative side is absolutely incorrect, wrong, 110%.
Pastor, are you concerned that the good work that he did perhaps made him inadvertently a target of someone that you may not know about?
No, the good work that he did was just that, a good work. If he ministered to somebody, he changed their life. We live in a culture that unfortunately doesn't always adhere to the voice of God. And so people make choices, people make decisions, and they decide to do what they want to do. And as a result of that hate, this is what happened. But Oscar made no enemies, none whatsoever. I know that sometimes on some stations they try to want to portray it as if he was some thug, some kind of gangbanger. They want to give these mean mug pictures of Oscar. That's not him. He was joyous. He made you laugh. He was energetic, and he loved. And literally, I know people like, oh, they're making this up. No, Oscar literally loved everybody. So if he had any enemies, he didn't know about it. We didn't know about it, because anyone that he came in contact with, it was all about ministry, helping them, and putting them back on their feet.
Your first name, Pastor?
Michael. Pastor Michael Fisher.
Colin, spell first and last, please.
Michaelfisher.
Councilman, anyone else from the family like to speak?
Excuse me, yes.
Sure.
I'd like to have Mr. Eric Aldridge from the Boys and Girls Club that work closely with them, and then we'll have some family members speak.
I'll say thank you, Captain. Thank you, Councilmember Rosendahl. This without question, and I've had the opportunity to work with Oscar intimately the last 6 years when he joined our staff at the Boys and Girls Club of Venice, and he just recently completed 5 years of service in youth development. He's a young man, as stated by Captain Peters, who grew up in this community, went to all the local public schools, and all of his accolades have been clearly documented. To reiterate one common theme here, and we've all seen these scenarios many times over, this young man had 2 feet completely planted in goodness. Not one on one side and one on the other. 2 feet firmly planted on goodness. He did everything right Monday evening. He went to work, he went to church, he went to get something to eat, and he went home. The home that he's been in his entire life. So he wasn't at the wrong place at the wrong time. He wasn't out at 3 a.m. He wasn't in an unfamiliar neighborhood. He was at home, where he's been his whole life. The ripple effect and why this tragedy needs to be reported so fiercely is on Tuesday, at the Boys and Girls Club of Venice, we have 500 young people in our building with 30 grief counselors from Airport Marina Counseling Center dealing with this tragedy. Not just with the staff, not just with his colleagues, with volunteers, with wealthy board members dealing with this tragedy, with parents, and with young people that he touched and worked with every day. Teenagers from Venice High School who were grieving in the Venice High School office that morning. Teenagers at the club. Young people that he worked with in the music studio on a day in, day out basis. Elementary school kids that he worked with to help cultivate their lives. Oscar clearly had 3 main priorities in his life: his faith, his music, which he loved, his gospel-inspired music, and his community, Venice, and his family. I'm sorry, because I thought about that as soon as I said 3. I'm going to name more than 3, right? but he is this community. And if Oscar can't, as Pastor Fisher said, move through life and raise a family, then we all have a very serious problem. Thank you very much for the reward, and we need to move forward fiercely on this endeavor.
I'm going to invite Lieutenant Radke back up to give those most important phone numbers and ways of contacting us.
Anyone, if you have information at all, please call West Bureau Homicide Investigators at area code 213-382-9470. If it's after hours, you can dial 877 LAPD 24/7. Thank you very much.
And we do have, I believe, one of the family members just wants to interview Oscar's aunt.
Hi, I'm Oscar's auntie.
Sorry, can we get your name, ma'am?
Yes, I'm Jacqueline Harris, and Oscar is my nephew. And I just want to say that I want to keep the violence down, and I want to keep most of the people away from my mom's house because she's sick. And because it happened right in front of the house, it's hard for my sister to come home. And I want to know if anyone has any information to please give the police the information that they need. You know, he was on fire for the Lord. And I hope out of this, everyone will consider giving their life to the Lord so that Venice will be a better community. We all have been through things, but he didn't deserve this. So I'm asking that the violence will stay down, and I'm asking that everyone will be considered of my family. In Jesus' name. Thank you.
Ms. Harris,
Yes?
can you tell us about your nephew? We're strangers. Everyone in Venice seems to have known him, so that our viewers can understand exactly what his value was based on what everyone's saying. Will you tell us, speaking on behalf of the family, about your nephew?
Yes, Oscar was a people person. Oscar loved people. He had a caretaker's personality, and he had plenty of joy. He was always considerate of someone else, and I know that he was concerned when that person yelled out in the shoreline. He wanted to say, let me tell them about Jesus. Let me tell them something that can help them change their life. I know he just didn't turn around and go to that car for no reason, because he had that personality. If it was something wrong with you, how can I help? He loved the kids at the Venice Community Center, which is the Boys and Girls Club of Venice, and he had a heart for all people. He would break it down to you. He tried to get you to understand. If you didn't understand something and you went about it in the wrong way, or your perception was wrong, he'd be like, wait a minute, Auntie Jackie, I want you to see it like this. He'll give you another way to look at it. And that was because of the love in his heart. You know, he didn't have a racial issue with anyone. He didn't care what your race was. He loved all people, and he had that joy. He wanted to fix it if it was broken. He wanted to fix it in love.
How do you think he turned out to be the young man that you're all describing?
By the grace of God. By the grace of God. My mom, my family members, Pastor Leah Home, which is one of the reasons why we have street lights in Venice, gave the word, put the word down. And that was his foundation. His foundation was the word of God. And he held on to that. The compassion that he had for people came from the word. Love ye one another. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And that's what Oscar believed in. So there was no lines that he would cross when it came to somebody being hurt or somebody being sick or their car being stopped on the side of the road. He'll try to help you. He wasn't thinking about anything negative. It was all about people and the joy and trying to make people be a better person. Thank you.
Alrighty, that's going to conclude the press conference today. I just want to thank everybody for showing up and helping us to get the word out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My Jesus! Join it.
Let me bring it down to you. I want you to look at it like this. Let me bring it down to you. That's all you do. I love you. Now look at it like this. You looking at it from my point of view. Let me break it down to you.
At the right place.
Hyphen.
Everybody come. Everybody knows
Bobby.
Hey, bro.
I just asked her, I asked her, I know this is tough, but a lot of people who may know what happened may appeal to you. What would you like to say?
You know, that's my brother. This is my mom. She's a strong person. Oscar's a great kid. An amazing person. He accepted the challenge of being one of God's chosen. He accepted it wholeheartedly and didn't waste a second of any day to make sure that was known. If you didn't want to hear what he wanted to say, he didn't pressure you. He made sure that he did God's work every day. So for me, closure is to see the outcry of the community and all his family and friends supporting. That lets me know that he was loved and he touched many lives. That's closure to me.
No retaliation.
No retaliation needs to be done.
Are you concerned about that?
I'm not concerned about anything. I'm concerned about my family, support from my mom, and all of his family and friends have been there. He touched many lives, so closure to me is knowing that he had support and he had love and he touched many lives.
Yes.
And so all we need is the support. If you guys want to reach out and tell what you know to the police department, great. That can help bring closure to help them do their job. But we're fine. Oscar is resting in peace to know that he was loved and his job for the Lord was set out and he did that. He completed his job. He completed his job and it's still going to carry out.
I know you're protecting your mom right now. Don't want to hurt her at all, but I would like you, if there is something you'd like to say to the
She loves her son.
But to the person who may know something.
I just said that.
Okay, thank you, sir. May I get your name, please?
My name is Curtis Nettles.
Please spell that.
Curtis Nettles.
Okay, you understand? I'm not trying to hurt your mom. I'm trying to help you.
Thank you so much.
That's good.
Great story. That was really nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
I saw them too.
what happened? You all right? Yeah, it's like this right here. I'm right here. It's like a mosquito. I don't see your mama though. They just took off an ambulance, so I don't know if you're all right. I think they're gonna let you buy it. They taking off the whole street right by your house. See your apartment.
I'm on California. Where are you?
Right.
Yeah, you can switch it. Yeah, go back.
I can't see how, if you find somebody, you go to the hospital. So I gotta do a report on all this shit. Cause I gotta do a report on it. You tell me somebody gets started, I gotta write a report on it. You go to the hospital and find a baby.
Wow, that's great. Okay.